First introduced in 1974 on the market, and it was since about 1998 that usage has skyrocketed. It's been going up exponentially ever since then. And so it's all over everything. And the government considers it to be perfectly safe for humans and doesn't worry about it, doesn't even bother to find out how much is in the food because they consider it to be safe. So there's been a lie involved here from the Monsanto researchers who managed to get it past the regulatory process way back in the mid-1970s, hiding the evidence that it was toxic, and then it has been able to be suppressed all this time through careful effort by these people who care about the bottom line of making money. And they make a lot of money off of this product. They don't want to see it banned, which is what it should be. It should be banned worldwide, in my opinion. It should be banned immediately if we have any hope for the future. I think it's a very, very serious contaminant in our environment. Of course, we're using it also on our yards. People can just go down and pick it up without any kind of regulatory process at the local hardware store, spray it on their dandelions. They could be a pregnant woman could be using it and not realizing that she's potentially causing autism in her child and her unborn child. I mean, it's just, we really have to be aware. Everyone has to learn about glyphosate, and people, this is Roundup, so Roundup is, people are much more familiar with Roundup. And they think it's safe, and it's not.
I heard you talking in another interview about mineral depletion directly related to glyphosate. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, and that's another interesting aspect of its toxicity. It's a very strong metal chelator. It binds +2 cations, they're called, and these are really important minerals that we need in trace amounts. Things like magnesium and manganese and zinc and even iron, cobalt, selenium, all of these, molybdenum, these are all very, very important minerals that we need in small amounts and that glyphosate will mess up. Glyphosate not only chelates them, in my opinion, it also disrupts the whole mechanism by which the body transports them and uses them because of its effect on proteins. But I can show that if glyphosate does get into these proteins by mistake in place of glycine, it will mess up, for example, iron carriers, proteins that carry irons, or proteins that allow iron transport across the gut membrane. All of these proteins are going to be affected badly through glyphosate contamination. They won't work properly. And so these minerals can become simultaneously toxic and deficient because of glyphosate's activities in the body.
And when you're looking at this and you're trying to talk to people about how to stop the madness, is there a way that you have found to test glyphosate levels? Like, I know a little bit of some of the urine testing. Do you have a preference of how could a person, because oftentimes one person in the household is like, this is nonsense. And the other person is like, but our kids are sick. Let's try to figure this out. So testing wise in a human, do you have any favorite ways of looking at that, or testing water or things of such?
Right, you can get glyphosate testing done, and it's becoming more and more popular. I think, again, it's something that nobody thought to do because everyone thought it was fine.
The effects on the microbiome, what are you seeing with your research on our second brain, the microbiome in the gut and glyphosate?
It's a mess. I mean, it's been shown that glyphosate preferentially, first of all, it kills bacteria. It's been patented as an antimicrobial agent. It kills all plants except for those few that have been engineered to resist it. So this shows that it is a very toxic chemical. It preferentially kills bifidobacteria and lactobacillus, which are the really important microbes that need to get a foothold in the gut to chase away the pathogens. So when those become weakened by the glyphosate, pathogens like Clostridia and D-sulfovibrio get a chance to overgrow, and they then release toxins that can disturb the gut and cause an immune reaction. So you have the immune cells coming in to fight off these pathogens. This gives you the irritable gut and the inflammatory gut and the leaky gut and all these gut problems that we see. Glyphosate also, I suspect, paralyzes the gut, and this is one thing that I'm very interested in because this is through its effect on proteins. There's a protein called myosin, which is the most common protein in muscles, and it causes muscles to contract. It's a contractile protein. Myosin has, depending on how strict you count, from 11 to 14 highly conserved glycine residues. If any one of them gets replaced by glyphosate, it's going to affect the performance of that protein. I wanted to also add that eating real food is super, super important. And people think they can just have, these soy protein bars and shakes, milkshakes, ensure, protein products. It's just like those things are so stripped of nutrients. There's all these nutrients in the plants, the plant-based nutrients, all the flavonoids and the polyphenols and chlorophyll, all these special things that are in whole plants that you don't get when you eat strictly processed foods. And I think it's really, really important. All the herbs, the coriander and the parsley, all of these herbs and spices like curcumin. Curcumin is incredibly important. It's extremely healthy. That's probably one of the reasons why in India they have a reduced rate of Alzheimer's disease. So really eating herbs and spices and eating whole foods, plant-based foods, really, really important for getting nutrients that we always think in terms of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, but that is such a small, there's so many other molecules in a vegetable that you eat that, besides those are just the basic, nutrients that provide energy, but you need so much more in order for your cells to be healthy.